All righty, come find a seat, get some coffee. It's a little full today, but there's plenty of seats up front. How are you guys? Yeah. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, you can sit all along the side too. There's plenty of spaces. Up front, along the side. Good, Anthony. Got the tea out, just thinking about you this morning. Good morning, good morning. Plenty of seats up front, on the side, coffee up front, tea. Jake, you got the live stream up? Awesome. Welcome, welcome. All right, I think we got critical mass. I think most folks are here that are going to be here. So welcome to 1 Million Cups. Thanks for being here. Happy Wednesday. I see some new faces. Who brought a friend today? And then who's here because of Tech Week? You count as a friend, a little both. Okay, column A, column B. Yeah, you got friends. Okay, well, thanks all for being here. Happy Tech Week. My name is Robert, and I have been helping host 1 Million Cups Salt Lake for better part of a decade. Yeah, forever. It feels like forever. Mostly because Wednesday comes every week, and that is a lot sometimes. We've been in all sorts of crazy spaces over the years. We've been here at Underbelly. This is a super cool space. Really love it here. Anthony is the owner and founder of Underbelly. It's a cool co-working space, creative and design agency. So I'm going to let him share a little bit about what they're up to. Quick, I'll talk a little bit about community guidelines if we get the slide up. This one's pretty easy. Special thanks to our friends at Convoy, Trent. If you guys don't know Trent and Convoy and Kickstart, Cat, so they're putting on Tech Week. It was pretty awesome last year, but it was thrown together really quick and it was still really awesome. This year they had more time to plan, and because they did, it seems to be a bit bigger. So who's all been to a Tech Week event or two? Yeah, that makes sense. So thanks to Trent and those guys. And we host this every Wednesday. So we made the agenda for Tech Week, which is fun. And we've got some tech companies presenting today, which should be exciting. So if you don't know, 1 Million Cups is a Kauffman Foundation program. Kauffman is the US's largest foundation. They study entrepreneurship, they provide data, they do education. For us, mostly, the cool part of it is there's 130-ish chapters like this across the nation. So if you're looking for other entrepreneurs to connect with and don't know anybody, you can hop into the network. You can apply to present if you're trying to share your idea, your business in a new market, if you want to test it out or meet some folks. And it's pretty easy, right? It's like, I get a note from somebody if they're here. It's yeah, welcome, come on in, come check it out, and we connect. And so it's the same in a lot of other cities. I'm here on Wednesday, so I don't get to get around very much, but Orem has one. Used to be in Provo, but there is one in Orem. So if you're down that way and don't want to make the drive, you can check that one out. It's growing. I hear it's getting better each week. And then I'm a COO of a co-working space, and we just bought a building in Ogden, and we're going to start an Ogden chapter here sooner than later. So if you're up north, then you can come join us up there once it gets going. If you're in Denver, if you're in Boston, New York, San Diego, some of them are virtual. So if you're like, I don't feel like traveling, but you want to hop time zones, you can get up early and start on the east and make your way west. So pretty cool. That's one of my favorite parts, besides the cool mugs they give us. Other than that, it's our community. So what makes it possible is you guys, right? So when this first started, it was just me and a couple friends drinking coffee, sometimes a beer or two, talking about business and trying to support each other. But it's turned into this mostly because other people care and other people come and support. So if you're new, meet a friend. If you don't have any, come talk to me. We'll be friends. That's kind of how this works. I sort of joke that it's somewhere between AA, because entrepreneurship is hard and lonely, and we all have problems. You don't have to do it alone. Or Cheers, old TV show. I think most of you get the reference, but there's a few of you that might not today. But it's a bar where everybody knows your name, right? So you should walk in the door and familiar faces, and it's just a place to share stuff that comes up. With that, we have a couple community guidelines. My main one is the bold one. You can read them all. But sometimes asking softball questions and stuff feels kind. Our friend Joel is an expert softball thrower. Yeah. I give him a hard time every time he does, but it's not always the kindest thing to ask an easy question. Sometimes the kindest thing is to ask a hard question, but kindly, right? So that takes a little practice, and that's okay. We're here for you if you need some. And then because we're using the space as friends and guests, so treat it really well. Treat it as good as your place or better than if you don't treat yours very well, but I treat mine really well, and we love this place. So thank you to Anthony and to Underbelly for having us. So they've got co-working here. They do both full design, like if you've got a new brand and don't know what to do with it, we're looking at working with them with our brand to expand into Ogden. So they do all sorts of stuff. So let's give Anthony a round of applause, both for using the space and then also for what he's up to.
Thanks, Rob. We just love having you all in our space. I love entrepreneurship. I love startups, the whole like culture and the vibe. It's kind of what made me start Underbelly. Is I just want to be involved in so much more of like helping people with their online presence or things like that. So if you've ever, looked at your website or your brand and been like, man, this is good, but like, man, this one little thing is just really on my nerves. That's where we can definitely come in. So like, what could you do with a creative team in your back pocket? That's what Underbelly is all about. We've got designers, developers, filmmakers, and we're just passionate about creative. So if you have anything digital you need help with, we'd be happy to help. Otherwise, pass it back to Rob. Have a good time.
About your fractional packages.
Oh, he's making me do a pitch right now. He's like, Rob is awesome. He's like been helping me with some of just like thinking about how we talk about like marketing and pricing and stuff. So what I've been trying to do, what I've realized, the big pain point people have is like for both like creatives, like if you go to any agency out there, like they're gonna say, okay, what's scope? And then you're gonna spend the next couple days defining scope, and then finally, once you go back and forth, and everybody's worried about like pricing and over committing or under committing, then like you get into the discovery and you launch the project, and like 2 days after it, you realize what you thought you needed is not what you need. And so like the best way to really work is to figure out like a sustainable, predictable pricing where it's like how much you're gonna pay every month. And then like we come along and just say, okay, cool. If this is the right amount of creative that you need, we're going to put the right people on it during this period, whether it's a designer, a brand designer, a strategist, or developer. Depending on what it is, we're going to bring in the right people to like provide the most impact. So you have the same price, and then as you encounter like different as your priorities change on your projects, we can also adapt with you. So you don't have to build out a creative team. We just become your creative team. And as you need to scale up, we can. And as you need to scale down, you can pause it anytime and scale down. So trying to make it as easy as possible to work with creatives, because that's what we do best. And we want to let you get back into your business. So if you're interested in that or have any questions, I'd be happy to chat.
Who's got a creative team? Who works with a creative team or does it themselves currently? Does anybody need a creative team? Few people. So part of it, I'm just asking, right? It's like I put Anthony on the spot, but this is what we do here is try to help ask hard questions because sometimes we don't know which questions to ask. So feedback on his model, like give a thumbs up if you're like, yeah, that sounds interesting. Could be something, or like this way if you're like, I don't totally get it, or like, nope, that sounds terrible. Just a quick feedback. He's testing it out. All right, awesome. So lots of thumbs up. See, this is what we do.
That's good.
Anthony's like, no, don't do it. I was like, I'm going to make you even if you don't want to.
But I am interested in what doesn't work, or if you've had like engagements in the past with other creatives and it's worked or hasn't worked, I'd love to hear about it. Because as I'm like trying to simplify, because man, we can do so many things. That's kind of what's kind of tripping us up. So I'm trying to just simplify it. So I'd love to hear what doesn't work and hear those hard questions too. Yeah.
75%. Give me feedback.
Hmm.
People love
That's awesome.
it. I had something to do. I think what I do.
Great feedback. See, Anthony didn't know he was going to be one of our 3 companies presenting. Aaron and then Aaron and then Aaron.
undervalued or underserved art, like expense. State has two full grant money. One's full time and raising money for it all the time, and the other one's part time there doing the next budget. It'd be really cool if there was an association of you guys, literally coming in the daytime stuff like this, like you, and
Nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other Aaron.
Yeah.
So I think like doing the retam.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I love that. That's great
Yeah.
feedback.
That's really
Plus
good.
one on that for me. Yeah. Mostly because I work with a lot of folks and they don't know what they don't know. And that's the hardest part, right? It seems overwhelming. Entrepreneurship, you're wearing all the hats anyway, right? So we'll find the right way to plug in. Anthony's working on it. So let's give Anthony a big round of applause.
Thank you.
So I'm sponsoring coffee this month. I've got a coaching company called Unstucker. I do executive coaching. I'm a former VC. I help run co-working and all sorts of stuff. So you can check out unstucker.com if you're interested and we'll chat more, but mostly I pay for the coffee. So everybody makes me talk a little bit about my business. And then we've got a friend in the back. Jake is running our hybrid event. So they've got a company called Mingle. You can go to Product Hunt and upvote them. You can go to our website, 1mcslc.com, and there's a link and you can join. So if you don't feel like driving, but you want to be part of it, today we've got 3 people in the Mingle. Last week we had 11. So it's different each week, and running hybrid events is hard. If you don't think so, try it. And if you do think so and it works, come talk to Jake and me, because I think it's really hard. So you know something I don't know. But thanks to Jake and Mingle for running that. And then I think that's the last slide for me. If you want to present, you can scan that or go to our website, 1mcslc.com. We've got a queue, usually like 2 or 3, maybe 3 weeks out. So if you've got a business, you don't need pitches. It can just be an idea, right? So if you're like, oh, I'm not ready, everybody says that. Right? Anthony didn't know he was pitching today, but he was. It's more of a presentation and a sharing. So what we tell people is like, tell people what you're working on, who you are, what you're working on, what's working, what's not, right? So it can be something big, it can be something small, it can be an idea, it can be you're raising money, it can be you've been operating for a while. We don't care. We know it's hard, and we're here for you. So, okay, that's it for me. So next, I'm going to transition. Joel's talking about a couple events he's got coming up. I normally do a thing where we do a few shares, but since it's a little tight this week, I think I'll save it. So, you're going to do it on the iPad instead of me switching? Yeah, do it. All right, okay.
Tech Week, Silicon Slopes is all about community. But long before Tech Week and Silicon Slopes, we had Rob Bell here to thank with Sustainable Startups and 1 Million Cups, and I think he deserves a big, big round of applause. In last year's ambitious approach to Tech Week, I had 12 events. And this year, I just don't have enough time. But I wanted to let you know we've got some fun things coming up. On Friday, and by the way, if any of you don't know me, my name is Joel McKay Smith. This post is prominent on my LinkedIn and my Facebook. I guarantee if you put in Joel McKay Smith, you'll find that, and there are links to the entire itinerary of the Tech Week, as well as the events that we have. We're going to have an event with Thrive, which is a family office that I'm now blessed to be associated with at Cucina Toscano on Friday from 5 to 7. We'd love to see you. The likelihood of us having an after party is really, really good. For those of you that may have been curious about what they've been up to with 10,000 businesses with Goldman Sachs, we're having a speed networking event. The worst part of this is I'm going to be hosting the speed networking event. But the good thing about this is anyone that's curious about what they've been doing with 1 Million Cups, how to get into that curriculum, the different cohorts and everything else, you'll have an opportunity to interact with some of those folks. It's a great opportunity. It's not free, but it's not expensive. And all the money goes to the foundation that they have to help keep the alumni for Goldman Sachs 10,000 businesses up and going. Okay. On Saturday, I've had a long involvement with film, the film festival, Sundance, things along those lines. And I was asked to be able to moderate a huge panel. It's going to be a kick in the pants over in the Monson building, which is the University of Utah's ambassador location. This is going to be a doozy. We're going to have some people there that we're not letting everybody know beforehand, but you're going to be blown away with the talent that we have there. Again, that's from 1 to 4 on Saturday. And finally, our friend Steve Woods, as well as Dominic Thomas, who's an amazing industrialist from India that's educated, Ivy League educated here in the United States. They're having a mix and mingle, which includes lunch and beverages. And that doesn't necessarily mean soda pops. That's going to be tomorrow at Gracie's. As of right now, it's at full capacity, but we're going to negotiate to be able to bring some more people in. This one will be good if you don't have lunch plans tomorrow. Check it out. And also, if you haven't ever had food from Gracie's, it's a gastropub that's beyond compare. Sorry to take so much of your time. Enjoy Tech Week for those of you that are new to this, and the rest of you, just think community. It takes all of us. Thank you.
Thanks, Joel. That was actually one of the shortest ones he's ever done, so he apologized, but big round of applause for Joel for keeping it succinct today. Yeah. There's a few chairs up front, so if you're in the back and you don't want to be, you can hang out with me. You can stay in the back if you want to as well. I'm short, so you just have to hang out up front. Okay, so 2 presenters today. So how this works is you already got the concept, but what they do, they're going to come up and share. Both have presentations, so we'll listen, we'll give feedback, we'll ask questions. Christoph is our first presenter, and he's with Blue Planet Lawn. Yep, enough coffee today to get it right. And he's an alumni, so this isn't the first time he's presented. So I'm actually excited to hear a little bit about how it was. He presented last year right when things were ramping up, and then obviously it's snowing outside, so not a whole lot going on, but I think he's getting ready to go again. So let's give Christoph a big round of applause.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, that's right. I was here April last year, and we just started the year before with a small POC, and I have a slide from back then to show where we were, and now it's like almost a year later, and I want to give you a bit of an update where we are now. So I founded Blue Planet Lawn. It's a zero-emission lawn care company. So I have a background in software development. I had a software company for over 20 years, and I sold it in 19. And as of this year, I'm working with Ryan, and he's the real expert in the field. So he brings in the industry expert. He knows what he's talking about and what he's doing. And to be honest, until now, for me, it was a little bit of, fake it until you make it, because I didn't have any experience in lawn care. But we came this far, and now we're at the point where we can scale the operation up. So that was actually in April 23. And so these are the things we were looking for. And let's see what of those things we had achieved and what we're still looking for, actually. So this is why I'm doing this. Like I said, no experience in lawn care, but this is something that was a concern for me, and is for many people. The air quality in Salt Lake City is very poor on many days, and so it's a concern not just for me. So there's other organizations that help with this, like organizations like UCare. But me being more like a business guy, I thought I have to start a business that can actually help with this. Poor air quality is linked, as most of us know, to pulmonary diseases, cardiovascular diseases, but also other things like cancer, ADHD, autism, things that are maybe a little bit more surprising, but these are all information from the National Institute of Environmental Health Science. So it's not something I came up with, it's just clear. And so you might be asking, so what can a lawn care business do to help air quality? It seems like that would be a drop in the bucket, but it really isn't. So this is information from the DEQ here in Utah. If you run a leaf blower, two-stroke, or a trimmer, or any two-stroke equipment, that is the equivalent of driving a car over 700 miles in terms of criteria pollutants. So it's just huge. It's way more than most people think. And when we look at the VOC emissions, which is critical for the bad air we have, including ground level ozone and all the nasty stuff, lawn care, I don't know if you can read it, it's 8 tons per day. That's more than the whole industry, which is 6 tons per day. That is mainly because the industry has regulations, they have filters and all that. Lawn care that has none of it. Those two-stroke engines just burn it on, or half of it, and the rest goes out. And it's more than half than all the cars in use. So what I'm trying to say is, if we can change the lawn care industry, we make a huge impact on air quality. And so this is our mission. We provide sustainable lawn care. We only use electric equipment. Everything is battery powered and solar charged. There's zero emission and also a lot less noise. That's another big factor that we're trying to solve, is the loud leaf that really nobody knows. So, and here's the solution. This is what we have. We run electric trucks and vehicles, pull solar trailers, have all electric equipment in it. And the reason why we have 3 different setups, the thinking is, so it's zero emission, it's all electric, but still need the energy still needs to be produced, and the less the. So my thinking is, equipment which is good enough for a job, we should use, and not run a F-350 through the neighborhood to. And the reason is, first of all, it's economic. Like the Chevy Bolt with this trailer costs like 1/3 of the truck and the big trailer. And the e-bike with the solar trailer costs even less, obviously. And in terms of range, with the truck, we can maybe drive 1 mile with 1 kilowatt-hour pulling a trailer. With the Bolt, 2 miles. With the e-bike, 50 miles. With a little pedaling, of course. And inside the trailer, we have power station charged by the solar panels, and they charge the equipment inside. So we've been mowing all year last year, and we are able to charge all the equipment during the day without problem. And if you still think electric battery-powered equipment is not strong enough, this is Caterpillar with a mining truck. This is a battery-powered mining truck that came out last year. So there's really no limit. And everything is going in this direction. So this is kind of a timeline where we started and then where we are. In 2022, I did a short POC. It was like a few months with maybe at the end, maybe a dozen customers to test the equipment, to test the processes and get feedback from the customers. Last year, we built more equipment. We got $100,000 in funding, which I'm very proud of. We are a UCare grant recipient and partner with them with certain activities doing this year. And also we are an access, we received the access certification. This is the American Green Zone Alliance, and we are the only company in Utah having that certification. We had over 100 customers, which is still a small company, obviously, for a lawn care company. But when you look at the emission reduction, just with that small business, it's the emissions we saved is the equivalent of driving a car, an ICE car, obviously, for 335,000 miles. So that's driving around the world about 12 or 13 times. And just imagine if we scale this up, how much we can save. It's enormous. So this is the model where we want to go to. We build a replicable business model this year locally, and then start the franchising program next year, and expand nationwide, hopefully. And I'm confident that we can do this because it's a huge market. It's like a $50, $60 billion market, and we have an advantage because there's going to be new regulation that offer opportunities for us. And other companies, they have to deal with their legacy. They have all the old equipment. Their crews are trained with old equipment, so they have to make that step, and that's not an easy one. And we're just ahead of the curve for a few years. Yeah, I'm going to switch to the next one. So what worked this year? Still, I think our brand works. We have a good brand awareness. The equipment, we abused it for a whole year, and we came out saying, this stuff works. It doesn't fall apart. This is what most other commercial companies think. It's not durable. It's not strong enough. Batteries don't last. All that it just did not happen. It works. I mean, there's a few things you have to work around, like 100-degree days is not ideal for batteries. Below freezing days is not ideal either. And so basically a lot of things worked, but some things we're still looking for. So again, we're looking for more funding this year to expand, mostly for staffing and equipment. And last year was mostly residential companies, and this year we want to move into commercial customers, government contracts, and we already made some steps into the right directions. But here, the sales model we had so far was mostly marketing through social media and some apps like Yelp and Home Advisor and things like that, which I'm not a fan of, but that doesn't work for commercial customers. That's more calling, face-to-face, meeting. So I would love to get some input on that sales channel, basically. And then we're still looking for sponsors for the youth entrepreneurship program that we started last year. We provide our equipment, the e-bikes and the trailer, to teenagers so they can start their own lawn care business. And the more sponsorship we get, the less we have to basically take from their revenue and let them run their own business. And since we're planning to franchise out next year, have to build up some franchising know-how this year. So if anyone has franchising know-how, I'd be very interested to talk to them. And overall, I'd be interesting to get some feedback from you guys, because I'm just in it. I like what I'm doing. I think it's the right thing, but sometimes it's good to get an outside perspective, and that gives me some sort of a reality check. And it's like, hey, you really want to do this? And because that kind of thing. So yeah, that was it. Thank you.
Thoughts, questions, feedback.
Thank you. I think it's a really great idea. I had a question. I'm not asking you to tell us your secret recipe, but it seems like you want to erect some kind of barriers to entry for competitors. And I was just thinking that maybe in your franchise, you set up some special system with the trailer and the mower and stuff, and build some kind of competitive advantage that no one else has. Is my thought. But I think it's a really great idea.
Yeah, there's two thoughts about that. The one thing is, we do build this thing, and I'm not going to tell everyone every detail, hey, this is how you do it, but because it's a bit of an advantage. But eventually also have in mind that other companies have to go this way too. And if we can be a role model for other companies to follow, that helps the whole mission to improve air quality. So I don't want this to be like no one else should do it, but I want to just be ahead of everyone else. Oh yeah, that's the other option. The idea is other smaller companies who cannot take that step because of maybe investment. We like to have those as franchisees. Exactly. But I don't think there's a way for us to lock anyone out with patents. We're just using existing technology and put it together the right way.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then also for questions with our online people, if you don't have a mic, they can't hear you. So do me a favor and use the mic.
So great presentation. Two thoughts. So one is from the franchise perspective. Think of someone who potentially would be a franchisee, someone that would do this. If there's ways that you can get into the off season, so I'm thinking like snowblowers and whatnot. If you could get into, I know there's a cold issue with the battery, but that's something potentially to consider for people that might be franchising this. It'll give them something to do in the winter. If you think of existing lawn care businesses, that's usually people usually like plow and do snow maintenance in the winter to sustain themselves. So that's point number one. Point number two is you're solving a local problem with a local business. And a company I work with out of Maine, they do a very similar thing. They do type 3 molded fiber, basically using tailings from the forestry industry, which is huge in Maine. And as a result of that, they're bringing Maine jobs back, yada, yada. The CEO has been able to partner up with a lot of folks in government, and she's gotten a tremendous amount in grants. So I know you said you have some grant funding, but I don't know. I'm not the right person, but there might be a good person in this room that's pretty well connected with the local government here in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And you might be able to get a lot of grant funding, not only for your business, but also as either a direct grant or a tax credit or tax write-off for your franchisors that are going to come in and basically give them an incentive to come into the franchise. So I'd definitely explore that route because this is a serious problem here, and this sounds like a really good solution for it.
Yeah, thanks for that input. We did apply for other grants, and I think there will be an ongoing thing. And sometimes people ask me, why are you not a nonprofit and you get grants easier than as a for-profit business? But I don't think that I never wanted to do this because it's a business. Lawn care is not nonprofit. It's a business for profit. And again, I want this to be a model that other companies eventually can adopt and revolutionize or change the lawn care industry.
So approaching it from a standpoint of who has your customer already, possibly go by a local Tesla dealership, a local Honda dealership, Toyota dealership, and say, hey, anytime somebody's transitioning from gas to electric, I'd like to offer them XYZ amount of mowing for free. And what you do is you establish what your lifetime customer value is. So if it's 3 years, then you could say 10%. So let's say 12 mowings, and then you establish an account and you up front, you say, hey, it's $50 a week after this, but your first 3 months are free on us. You're going to have a quiet lawn experience with us. And you coin some phrase in there. And then the other thing is reach out to Ego, reach out to the trailer company, reach out to some of these people and say, we have a goal to scale. Will you work with us up front? Because a lot of times companies are always looking for channel partners. And if you're ahead of something and you're starting to put a story, and one thing I didn't hear anything about is how are you expressing your brand on social media? So go out there and one of the things I've learned over my life in business is media hijacking. If something happens anywhere in the country, solar, green movement, whatever, hop on it and say thank you for moving it and share their post. At some point, a story a number of years ago, a guy shared when Lindsay Lohan lost a bunch of money. He said, I'll buy all your purses. His business went from like 700 grand to 25 million overnight because USA Today picked that up and shared it because they thought it was funny. So find ways to think outside the box of just mowing a lawn today and start to work with the people, because even though you're 1 or 2 trailers, you want 30, 50, 100, and 1,000. Start having that conversation today. So you're planting the seed, and the people that are in the space start to hear a little bit about who you are and what you're doing. That way, 3 years from now, you call, you're getting straight to the right person. So those would be my pieces.
Thanks. That's good input. Thank you.
Hi there, thanks. Is question about your business model. You've presented in my mind what I see 3 potential business models: selling hardware, franchising, or actually operating and earning revenues. What do you anticipate your core business model being?
Yeah, so far I see it as a service model and a franchise model. We don't expect to sell hardware like the trailers we building.
How are the people going to get the hardware that you're to do the
Yeah, so
in the
all
business?
equipment is, I mean, as a franchise, at some point you're providing services and material to your franchisee. That's when it comes in. Okay, we built the trailer for the franchise, or we purchased the equipment for them, but it wasn't meant to be like we have a store and we sell equipment.
I'll just suggest that I have worked with some people in franchising and in lawn care,
Hmm.
and I think the question I'm presenting you is actually critical, because if you are going to be a hardware provider, even if you're not making a profit on it, that is a huge focus area for a business. And
Mhm.
and then, but if you're going to outsource everything and then you're going to be a franchise provider, then you have to have that marketing capability. If you're going to have if you're going to be operating, earning revenues to operations, then you got to have that the on ground game. So I think actually that's a very critical question. That's going to be important focus for you going down. And
Okay.
one follow-up question essentially is, what is your main goal? Is it to reduce emissions?
Yes.
Okay. So I would also suggest that I've done some research in this area too, and Freakonomics had a great podcast about this from a year ago. To sum it up, but about customers' obsessions, consumer obsessions with a green lawn.
Oh yeah.
And so, are you looking at any ways to actually help change customer perceptions and find those right customers that saying, okay,
Yeah.
we don't need this, cut once a week type of a thing, or how can you modify things so it actually doesn't require as much maintenance?
We do this absolutely. We promote like a healthy lawn in terms of less fertilizing, less pesticide, less herbicide, more natural plants. Maybe also dryscaping or steriscaping, which would be the ideal solution for everyone. But people want lawns, and rightly so. And but if you have a lawn, you should treat it in a way so it's more sustainable. But yeah, thanks for that input. And maybe I'd like to talk about the franchising thing.
Hey, so government contracting, we talked a little bit about this last year. San Diego this year, late August, they're having the Navy, all the federal agencies are having a big conference the last week. So if anyone wants to do government contracting on a federal scale, San Diego, end of August. Also, Utah League of Cities and Towns, you have access, sir, to all of the municipalities in the state of Utah right here, and all of them have a lawn, I promise you. And lastly, we just had the Board of Governors meeting over at Chamber West, where we had one of our favorite state nonprofit groups talk about emission reductions, and I think you should have a conversation with that group also.
Thanks, Oz. And I'd like to thank you also for the advice you gave me last time, because I'm on that list for government contracts and I get all the requests for bids. But to be honest, last year we were just not in a position, I wasn't in a position to quote large properties, and we didn't have the equipment. But now moving forward, we have all that. So
Let's talk about LSI. There's an organization that will help write the contracts with you so you can get a habit and know-how to do it on your own, so you have help.
We got time for two more. So Chris and Craig are going to be our last two.
Awesome. Great project. Congratulations on the UCARE grant. I know that's
you.
a competitive process
it is.
and tedious. I'm curious, maybe I missed it. Can you just describe briefly the percentage of the price reduction by doing this electric?
Oh, that's a good question. So I would like to claim that our running costs are lower because we have no gasoline, much less maintenance on the equipment. But I mean, I'm still working on numbers, so as we experience or learn more about it, I think the running cost is about the same, because some costs like insurance costs for electric vehicles way higher than others. And so I think it levels out. And what we do, we pretty much offer the same service for the same price like other companies. So I don't think the price advantage is our selling point. It's the zero emission ability.
Better service, same price,
Yeah.
and zero emissions.
Thanks. As the emissions are a scale issue, and so government's doing different things to try to speed that process. Like DC has got a mandate, but Utah and specifically Salt Lake City, for different reasons, has cash grants for lawn care companies. This is just a new program starting this last year to convert from two-stroke and gas engines to electric. So I'm just wondering, with those kind of grants for your competitors in this market, how are you perceiving and managing that kind of risk?
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that program. You can exchange your two-stroke engines. You get a $500 credit to buy new ones. But there's two things. It's only up to $3,000 for a bigger company. That's probably not enough. And for smaller company, it's great. And as we actually take over smaller companies and businesses, or maybe single lawn care workers who have their equipment, we can also profit from that equipment. But it's definitely something that's accelerating the whole change to electric, and it has to, because there's going to be bans on two-stroke equipment on bad quality air day. And so it's helping us in one way, and not business-wise, it doesn't help us, but it's a good thing.
Can you start a bunch of small businesses, purchase used two strokes, convert them, roll it up?
You could, yeah.
I would. They'll catch on eventually, but not a bad way to get some equipment. Okay. Thanks for the great questions. If you had more, Christoph, can you stick around if somebody didn't get a chance to ask a question? One of the things Kaufman does is they give us these fancy mugs. What I like to say is they're pretty magical because they are like vacuum insulated steel, the classic thermal insulator. Keeps hot things hot, cold things cold. So magical by itself. More importantly, you already have one. But sometimes as an entrepreneur, the hardest part is asking for help. So with your magic mug comes the question, what can we do? What can people in this room do that would help, that would make a difference for Christoph, for Blue Planet Lawn? How can we help? How can we move the needle for you?
That could be helpful. And yeah, just connect with us on social media. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and help us make it popular.
Awesome. Let's give Christoph a big round of applause. Good job, Christoph. If you need more coffee, now's a good time. So we're going to get Mike hooked up. Mike, you've got the white and the clicker right there. You can just close my lid if you want and stick yours on top. Either way. Just pull those two. So while we're transitioning Mike, the thing that I usually do is I ask people to talk about either events coming up or what today is. We started this during COVID, which was celebrate or complain, right? So I'm an executive coach. I'm a venture capitalist. Oftentimes when we invest in people, it actually makes the problems worse, not better. And in COVID, we would have big things that happened, but nobody would share them because we were kind of to ourselves. So in that spirit, a lot of people would have something big and you want to celebrate those things. Sometimes you don't get the chance to. So if somebody had something exciting, new clients, something awesome, I invite you to share while Mike's getting. And also, I'm a big complainer. As an executive coach and optimist class, people always kind of say half full, because if you don't, everybody thinks you're an asshole. But it's okay to have both, right? So if you've got something that's been hard, sometimes you feel a little bit better by sharing it, and maybe you get a little support that you didn't expect. So if you got something hard, you feel like complaining today, it's welcomed in a safe space for that. So anybody have anything worth celebrating, worth complaining about? Craig, what you got?
So this is exciting, and I don't know, after 19 years of private firm practice, I am going in-house with Rio Tinto. I'm their first U.S. patent attorney here. And I'm excited. One of the big things we're going to be looking at is how do we speed up development and reduce costs and environmental impacts of finding lithium, rare earth metals, and all of those things we need for batteries and an electric economy. So it's a pretty exciting move. And I start on Monday. So I've provided free IP suggestions to some of you here. I don't know how often I'll be able to come, but certainly find me on LinkedIn, and I can give you referrals to other people too. So,
thanks, Craig.
I'll fill in for Rob here. You're
Thanks,
take care of
Steve.
that. Who's next?
So I put these over here. The Hope Hero Foundation Red Sneaker Gala is February 3rd. So come to that. I know there's a few of you in the room already coming, but yesterday I found out, so my mission is catching kids before they fall and empowering them to become heroes of their own story. And last night it got confirmed that we are having 4 teens come and do the videography for it with Davis Catalyst. And You guys, that is how you empower kids. You believe in them and you give them the opportunity to rise. And so it's so cool that these kids get to come and learn the tech stuff that they're wanting to do at school. That's how we develop heroes. We believe in them. So I just wanted to share that. I have 4 kids coming to do that, and it's super awesome. And I hope you guys come too.
Okay, last one. A couple more. We got an online one or just a Jake one? Okay, hold on. Sometimes Jake puts his hands up and he's like, somebody online has something to say.
So I've got an event and complaint. Yeah, I'm waiting. You got me, bro? Okay, this is the money shot right here. So we've got an event coming up on Friday, the worker series. We're going to do it hybrid, so it's going to be virtual and at the workers builder series up north. You can check that out on nori.ai for registration if you want to join virtually or if you want to join in person. And my complaint is I haven't done production in a long time. I used to run events, and if you're ever working with somebody who's doing audio visual or doing any kind of production, don't change things last minute. It's not cool. It makes people very upset and it ruins their day and maybe even their week.
Aw. See, things are hard sometimes. This is okay. Feel a little bit better now? We got your back. It does suck. And events are hard. Some people are like, I want to do events. I'm like, I do not.
I've got a quick complaint. I am ready for cold season to be over because I've had 4 meetings of potential projects that like the meetings got delayed because the person's kids got them sick. And I am so ready for that to be over because I'm ready to get busier working.
I'm tired of that season too. So, okay. Well, thank you for celebrating and complaining. Hopefully we all feel a little bit better. That's the goal of these things. If not, come find me. We'll figure it out. Mike is here with Job Excel AI. So Mike's been coming. He got laid off 2 months ago, and he found us, and he's been hanging out, and he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he's been meeting with the community and memos, does recruiting, consulting, and tech. And then he ended up starting a company, and he got funded already. Doesn't normally happen. So but it's worked, and it's odd because it doesn't always happen, but sometimes right place, right time, right stuff. So let's give Mike a big round of applause and hear about what he's up to.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, so first off, ditto to the sick kids. I actually missed the Utah Tech Week presentations yesterday because my daughter woke up sick, and then my dog woke up sick as well. And it's a brand new dog to us. We adopted her, but she's 3 years old now. And we thought she might be pregnant and then going into labor because she was in heat when we got her. And we're like, what if she's going into labor? But it was a false alarm. She was just having a tough time. So
it's like the beginning of a country song.
Yeah, it was like a crazy morning yesterday. So I'm glad to be here today and super fortunate to be where I am. And obviously most companies don't start and get funded in 2 months. That's obviously a big part of connections and a great neighbor, honestly, that is willing to fund me because he believes in the mission and also has a like-minded investment. So who I am, I'm a creative person at heart. I'm Mike Hagberg. I've been in the industry of software for almost 24 years. I love new business ideas. I've started my own business several times, but mostly small scale, didn't go anywhere, mostly on the side. This is my first full-time adventure of starting a company, especially a tech company, a startup. I have some interesting facts in here. I was once sued by Instagram. Most people probably can't say that, but I started a card game and I named it InstaFame. And the word Insta, when I registered the trademark, caught the lawyer's attention. And after I purchased 10,000 games, be shipped from China, they sued me. So I'll tell you more about that some other time if you're interested. Started my first business in college, taking out trash for women and their apartments. And that was fun because I got a lot of first dates out of that, met a lot of women, but also worked very little. 1 month I made almost $1,000 working just about 1 hour in the whole month. So I hired lots of other people to do the work and I just sold the jobs and one of the sales points was very attractive garbage men, so I had to make sure my garbage men were very attractive. But, yeah, so I started off in computer science, but quickly found out that sitting in a lab for 2 hours a day isn't always fun. So I enjoy people. I enjoy talking to people. I've been in management most of my career, the last 10 years, pretty much exclusively, but still try to stay connected, writing code and doing other things. Yeah, and so let's go on to the next slide here. Yeah, so why JobExcel AI? So JobExcel AI is a construction tech software. And in general, the construction industry is pretty lagging as far as technology, and they're very slow to change. So I'm not trying to change their technology. I'm trying to meet them where they are and provide software that sits on top of their existing CRMs that allows them to be more efficient, more effective, and have better communication. It makes it faster, creates more accountability. It adapts to the current company's software. It simplifies workflows, and it automates manual tasks. So we're going to jump into it. This is a quick overview of like the Figma demo I'm going to do. So I'm going to jump over to my laptop and change screens.
Always caution on live demos if you haven't done one before. They're always tricky. They've been pulled off here recently, but always an extra. I don't even count on the AV working half the time, let alone the demo. So
this is a Figma prototype of the app I'm building, and the user case scenario is that we have an agent or a field representative that's going out and doing work. In this case, it's a fencing company, and you probably can't read the text, but the AI is prompting them with a message of what they should check in that day. By location, they know where the individual's at, so they know the job number. It also tells them, what day they are in the job and whether they're on track or they're off track based on yesterday's check-in. And so it's going to provide all that information for them. So all they have to do is say, yes, I'm on track, or yes, or no, I'm not on track. And when they select it, of course, they can edit it. The AI is going to prompt them to send some information. So upload a file, upload a video, show us the work that you're currently doing. This next scenario is somebody that's requesting a delivery of fence posts for a job that is above and beyond what the initial inventory accounted for. And the AI is prompting them as they type to not forget their job number and to provide some information about the job so that the context is all there. And so they can click on that prompt, send that message, and then the AI is going to respond again with a question. Hey, this job only called for 42 fence posts with 10% waste. Are 38 fence posts in the ground, or is there some other scenario? So it kind of gives them two options there, and they can respond, modify the post, and say, yeah, there are 32 fence posts in the ground. We wasted 10 going up the steps. At this point, it needs a management decision. So it prompts the users to then provide their input. And when a user sees that, so this can go to a bank of users all at once, similar to like a customer support channel where you get a bank of people that are able to respond. In this case, it's all office management. In this case, it's Nathan. He's the owner of the fence company. He's going to respond to Ashley's message. Oops, I think it went two. Okay, so he gets two prompts as well. The first one is, we don't have anybody to send, but good news, there's a Lowe's 1.2 miles away, and JobExcel can create a PO order for you, and it even has a picture of the product that you need right there at the bottom, right? The other one is, no problem, we'll have somebody there at 10:30, and it tells them there that it's about 15 minutes of load time and about 45 minutes to the job. So he can decide to go ahead and send the one that says, we don't have any available, just go to Lowe's and pick it up and send a PO. At this point, the person can respond, they can do their own thing. Nathan can come in here, check the message, see how it went, and then resolve it if he's happy with the results. In this case, he wants to ignore this message, so he does. This one he wants to ignore, but because nobody else or everybody else on the team has already ignored it, somebody has to respond. So he's required to respond to the message. Yeah, sorry, this didn't work here. Yeah, so sorry, that flow didn't work with the clicker. So this last one is a notification to the sales team. How many people have ever had a construction crew of any kind at their house and all of a sudden they disappear? Whether it's carpet or fencing or contracting or deck work, it never happens, right? But 1 second they're there and the next second they're gone. And you're like, they told me they were going to be done today, or they were supposed to get this thing done today. And it's dependent on a crane coming tomorrow. The crane cost, $1,500 just to have the crane here at the house. And I need this thing done and the crew's gone, right? So automatically this is going to notify the salesperson that there's going to be a delay in the work. And that didn't go to the right slide either. So when they get the notification, they can click on that notification, see the message history, and you probably can't read that, but it says, hey, you need to contact David Smith. Here's his phone number. Let him know that the team is going to leave the site, and check out the message history and you can tell them why. So that's the product. And I'll go back to, there's lots more to it, but that's a simple overview for now. And tell you a little bit about why I believe this is something that will be successful. Looking at the TAM, and I'm just looking at service industries in the United States that are small companies. So I went through all the service industries that I found that would be a good fit for this product. And I looked at companies that were smaller than 50 to 100 people in size. And conservatively, assuming we charge about $5,000 per customer, the $250 million a year opportunity for total market. And then aggressively, it could be up to $1 billion a year. Existing customer base. So thanks to my investor, Nate Barr, who's also my neighbor, we were actually able to get 500 customers right away because he has 500 customers that already use his platform that are already construction-based industry software users. And the software they're using is probably really low on the totem pole as far as like customer ease of use. So it's easy to potentially motivate these people moving forward. The hard part is they don't want to change, right? That's part of the nature of the service industry. No matter how good the software is, there's still potential, like no desire to change because it's working. Why break what's working? And so even when we have some of these conversations, that's tough. We have 5 with letters of intent currently. We have 3 members of the team. I have a part-time software engineer that's helping me overseas, and he's actually from Australia. Really cool to work with. And then we have about 45 people that are showing some interest at the moment. Okay, so one more reason is why I'm doing this. I was in the C-suite of a InsurTech startup. Before that, I was the director of engineering at SoFi. And these are some of the quotes that I heard often. This was one of my favorites. Why haven't you fired anybody this quarter? And sometimes that was a legitimate question, but sometimes it wasn't, right? Like you had really good people working for you, but it was still like a constant question. Like, why didn't you fire anybody? Okay, well, because they were all good. They were all doing good things. This was my favorite though. The CEO I worked with last, we were coming up with company values, and he said, I want one of the company values to be your best is never good enough. And I looked around at the other executives and I like was waiting for someone to balk at it, and they're just all nodding their head. And I'm like, really? Like nobody's going to challenge this? This is a good idea. Anyways, that was a little bit of a long conversation, but anyways, there's others on there.
Tell us who it was.
Probably shouldn't. He's a good person. He's very hard-minded, right? He's very hard-minded and really wants to get the best out of people. So, yep, that's what I tried to help him with, and we were a bit of oil and water. That's why I no longer work with him. So, yeah, and I'd prefer to be a better version of a CEO. I know it's going to still be hard, and I know this challenging be hard. I'm looking forward to all your advice and your help and this community, and yeah, I'm excited for the journey. So, My dad was in the industry of being a contractor, 53 years experience. Mentioned my investor. My brother owns construction companies. I love to work in construction myself, so that's what has me passionate about this project. What it is, we're adding value. The question is there enough to adopt? So these are the things I need help with from you all. We have early sales leads. What about future growth? How do we get into other markets? What do we do to reach, potential sales channels for lots of different service industries? The CRMs out there are really bad. What happens when they churn their CRMs and get new ones that are better? How do I maintain those customers? How do I make it adaptable that way as well? So those are the questions I'm thinking about. I'll go back to that slide here at the end. And when we ask questions, this is my contact information. This is the contact information of my investor, Nate, who's a partner of mine now. And yeah, if anybody wants more about that information, I'll take questions now.
Okay, let's give Mike a big round of applause. Don't spam Nate for investment. That's not cool.
Nice, Mike. This is well done. Good start. Two things I would say. One is figure out very clearly how you change these people's lives. Not, oh, we do this a little bit faster or this is easier. Turn it into financial or time savings. A couple good, 2 or 3 good examples that when they say, I don't know, you say, look, have you ever had this situation? Now that's going to be gone, or it's going to save a half an hour, or it's going to save you this much money. So have very clear examples how their lives, like this is your life before, this is going to be your life now. So that, and then, get some sales as quickly as you can, even if it's not great, even if you have to get them a discount to get them on, but you need customers so you can start evaluating and usually give those early adopters something so that they can be part of the process and they benefit. But the sooner you get customers that are using it, the faster it's gonna. Don't spend too much time. You've developed, so don't spend too much time just developing. Like, we'll get it out there. Get it out there, because it may evolve to be slightly different than what you thought, but that's okay. Just listen to those customers. It's really good.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sell, design, then build. Most people design, build, then sell, but sell first. Sounds like that first 500 is pretty key, though.
So I have something not related to construction. So I'm very intrigued in what you're doing, because I have several clients that is in the hospitality industry. And one thing on a simple event or big event, the bartender needs this, the kitchen needs this, so-and-so is running late with a limo. I think you have other industry options that we should talk about.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. And this is a low-hanging fruit, but I think there are other ones out there that there might be more competition in.
Low-hanging fruit.
Thank you.
And if the limo's running late, we got a whole different problem, Oz.
First off, congratulations on the early on raise and quick to market. I think the world needs more of that, people that solve their own problems in the way that you did and see a good insight. What I'd say is that I see too often is, in my opinion, you shared way too much of what your company does. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe you're here to actually do a demo pitch and you want feedback on the demo and you're not doing a raise pitch. But building relationships with investors, they're not ATMs. They have a heart. And just so you know, I stole that from Lindsay Hadley up at the Silicon Summit launch the other day. And she's spot on, quite frankly. And so it's all about, first, a deal teaser page to get them interested. Second is a short slide pitch, few slides. Third is, I'm really interested, show me a demo. And just so you know, as an investor, I'm trying to build a relationship with you so that we have more than just what I see here. And then lastly, you're going to take off. AI is a huge industry. If I can't read the slides from back here, imagine if you were invited to speak at a massive room. And so I would say your very next thing should be you focus on going and getting customers, hire somebody, put on your slide how much money you need to hire somebody to take you around and pitch for you, and you're going to kill it, honestly.
Thank you.
Underbelly does creative work to help on that if you need some.
Well, thanks, Mike. Hey, just a question, and I almost hate asking this question, but there's a lot of studies out there showing that the construction industry in the last 70 years is one of the very few industries that has not shown any improvement in efficiency. And so, and we've actually had declining efficiency despite, increases in and automated tools, right, and software and planning all this stuff. So I'm just kind of curious to say, like, how do you think what you're doing is going to? Do you believe it's going to impact that per se? And so that's the question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I do think it has the ability to impact it, and it comes from a bit of experience. I didn't put this on my deck, but I've been building an app for my brother on the side for about 7 years, and it's a project management app that he uses in his fencing company, and he pays me a lot of money to do it, and mostly it's not going to me. It's just going to Amazon and going to everybody else that costs money to host an application, right? And so because of that, I kind of constantly ask him, and more so after my layoff, I wanted to find out, like, what is it about this that you like? Because you're paying a lot of money, and I've done some research thinking, well, maybe I'll turn this into a business. And I started doing research going, oh, there's tons of apps out there. There are so many apps that do it way, way better than the app I built for my brother. And it had way more integration and way more features and on and on and on, right? And so I'm like, what is it that you like? And he's like, number one, it's simple. Everybody out there pitching construction companies wants to build these really complex apps with lots and lots of different levers and things that you can pull to do all your different functionality. And he's like, I like that it's simple, and it helps me get to the core problem, which is bad communication. And that's where I lose money. I send a crew out to a job, they forget their inventory, they leave tools on the job, which, they leave a $10,000 auger on the job and hope it doesn't get stolen. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it gets ruined. And sometimes they don't even remember where it's at, right? It's like, oh, which job did we leave it at? And so there's just lots of communication problems in the industry that cost them efficiency, time, and money. And it's that ownership mindset that is missing. And so part of what I'm trying to do with the accountability piece is help create that ownership mindset, help people communicate and get all their communication in one spot. And that communication has never been captured before in the service industry. The text communication, the phone calls, the written notes on a work order, none of that's ever been captured. And because it hasn't been captured, it hasn't been mined. So you can't improve unless you know what's going wrong. And once you know what's going wrong, then you can start doing some deep learning and figure out, how do I make this better? So that's the second portion of the application, as well as doing some consulting with these companies to get them using more AI in their software as well, because there's a lot of things they already do. Most of these companies already have Microsoft 365. Why not turn on Copilot? Why not introduce the BI tools that are available to them that are automatically generated? And so we can do some consulting, get them up and running that way as well, providing some initial momentum that helps them have leverage into, like, I'm going to use this software as well. The software may open the door, the consulting may get their feet in it, like, firmly cemented, and then hopefully real momentum and efficiency is given after.
Got one over here. Hi. So I think one of the challenges of working with a target market of folks that are more tech averse, if you will, or late adopters to technology, is just change adoption, right? They are not wanting to, and you called this out in your presentation, which is helpful, but I feel like you called that out, but there wasn't a specific way of how you're going to address that. As someone myself who has, most of my career has been spent convincing people who are averse to tech. I worked in healthcare IT for most of my career, convincing doctors, nurses, pharmacists to start adopting technology, and they don't want to. They want to do things how they've been doing them, and it's come along with lots of government, funding changes and all those sort of things that is forcing them to make those changes. That's not happening in construction. So I think if you want to differentiate yourself, you need to drill down into that change adoption aspect of how are you going to help, these folks adopt this change and implement your technology, or otherwise, right? You can have all of these different pieces. You can make it super usable. You can make all of these things great, but if they never use it, if they never pick it up, if they never look at it, right, it will go away. And so I think focusing in on that challenge of just change adoption, and how do you help these users, right, adopt this change? How do they go through that change process of starting to use technology in a meaningful way? Is one way that you can do this differently than all of these other people who think they can make this happen if they just make the better, shinier app.
Yeah, and that's one of my asks, and that's why I'm here, right? If anybody has good thoughts on like how do I help propel and keep the momentum rolling for change and adoption, and breaking out into a wider industry. Like we have a few good leads right now, right? And maybe we convert 25% of those, maybe we don't, like, but eventually we're going to run out of those leads. And then how do we get to the next level where we're really selling at a scale?
I know a lawn care company that could potentially give you feedback, at least on a beta.
Yeah.
I run a co-working for contractor space called Guyver Hub in Lehigh. We have roofing and solar installers, so those guys might be willing to test it out and give you feedback.
I just wanted to share an experience I had at a place where I used to work, where we got some new software in that was supposed to solve all our problems. Got this great sales pitch, demos were awesome. And then we learned after it was a nightmare. we learned after the fact that we were one of their first customers, and they were looking at us as beta testers, and they didn't let us know that. And so, we ended up having to learn all these hacks and workarounds and stuff like that to get the stuff to actually function. And about a year into having it, we had this really awesome meeting office one day with their developers, where we showed them how we actually got the stuff to work. And I remember one of the coders was so upset that they quit because they just couldn't believe that their stuff didn't work the way that, like it was a disaster. So just all the advice you're getting about getting people on, I think part of it is, make them feel like they're part of the team and make them feel like they're improving the stuff. And so your app solves the problems they actually have instead of telling them how you're saving them.
Thank you. Yeah, know your customer, right? You don't want to pick a customer that, number one, doesn't know what you're doing. Number two, you want to make sure they're somebody that's adaptable, willing to go through change. And that's a tough thing to find in the construction industry, service industry, for sure.
Got time for two more. We'll come back there, and then last one up here. I spent a lot of money with Qualtrics, and Ryan Smith did all right, but their software never worked the way they sold it. So,
Well, what I love is that you have your brother already as a tester. Use his stories of how it's changed the communication with his employees and the customers. When you're selling something, it's that ethos, the ethics, the credibility behind it. It's the logic, why we need this. We need good communication. And then the pathos is that heart, that empathy, how it's changing the experience for people involved with it. So you already have years of it. Use him and have him be one of those people who shares those stories.
Yeah, thank you.
Just want to commend you on not sitting around, when you got laid off. What a cool story, man. Congratulations. A lot of people would just, kind of get down the slums. Didn't look like you spent any time down there. I mean, good work, man. That's really cool.
I spent a little time down there, but I have really good friends that picked me up. So
it's awesome, man.
Thankful for all those friends that helped me out.
Just my comment. I've been in construction my whole life, essentially. Worked with a lot of different cities, and where I'm taking your application is with those cities, right? Imagine if you were to implement this. I'm going to take Cottonwood Heights because that's where I live. Pain in the ass. Right. Really, really frustrating city to work with. Love them dearly, most of them, but very complicated to work with, right? Imagine if we had your AI in these cities working with builders, right? And what your AI would help the city be able to accomplish in a timely manner. And even as far as like, hey, this pipe is 40 years old. We know that already. When we dig up this road, we're going to replace this pipe because it's time to be replaced, right? And so I'm not digging it up next year when I've refinished and redone this road. And the money, I mean, you could sell this to a city really easily, honestly, with what your application does. And my next point is, if you come to me doing the labor every day and try and sell me some AI thing. That's not going to work. My hammer works better than your hammer because I know how to use it and blah, 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 right? But if you take it the next, we need to go to the decision makers. So, and those decision makers typically are okay with seeing change and seeing AI. So that would be like my thought from a construction standpoint. Get it in somebody's mind that is higher level. And then, like this gentleman said back here, kind of have the proof in the pudding that you can say like, hey, here's how I solve your problem. I know you're probably having this problem or you're having a problem like it. This is what I can do for you. And honestly, these guys, a lot of these guys coming out of college from UVU, from the U, BYU, locally, I'm just talking locally, are going to jump all over that because they've been very accustomed in classes, to seeing technology change construction. It's not, definitely the old timers and people in the field aren't really interested in it, but the decision makers in the office to help run projects, for sure, those are the ones you want to be talking to.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Great feedback. So out of time, if you didn't get to ask your question, you got feedback, Mike, hopefully you can stick around for a minute. You get the last question, which is your magic mug. What can people in this room do? What can the people online do? Up to 7 now. So how can we help? How can we help Job Excel? How can we help Mike? What would move the needle for you?
The biggest thing is introduction to construction companies, service-oriented companies. That's probably the number one thing you can do to help us out. Beyond that is like give us good feedback, like you just did, on like what we can do to get in and really help people understand this change is valuable. So yeah, and thanks for all the feedback and advice today. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Let's give Mike one more big round of applause. Thanks. All right. Thanks everybody for being here. Happy Tech Week. Hopefully you got some other cool events planned. It's going to be a busy week. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being at Underbelly. Thanks to Anthony and his team for hosting us. Do me a favor, and if you're sitting next to one of the chairs, just stack it next to you to give everybody a little more space. And we're here next week. So if you want to come back, even though it's not Tech Week, we'll be here. So happy Wednesday.